What you see down here, you can only see for the first time once.
Leesburg, Virginia legend Gary Lawhorne's basement might just be the eighth wonder of the world.
Oh man, I left a mess. I'm sorry. I don't know. I got things laying around there. X-Men 1. How did that get there? First Spider-Man. Oh man.
No big deal, you know.
No big deal.
All told, Gary says everything you see around me amounts to 60,000 plus comics, making him one of the biggest individual collectors on the entire East Coast.
Locally, Gary is known as Uncle Gary, aka the Ric Flair of comics, and he does bring a certain WWE-style energy to his hobby.
Gary, I feel like I'm in the Avengers right now.
Well, I try to tell people, reading comic books make you stronger, baby.
He's quite the dichotomy. An ex-football player with encyclopedic knowledge, Gary can nerd out over superheroes with the best of them.
You're always fantasizing about finding that treasure trove, that comic collection that's not been looked at, that's been, hidden away in shelves or an attic or somewhere.
I first met Gary back in May on a story I did at Comic Logic, Loudoun County's only comic book store, which has become regionally famous in its own right. He's been collecting comics since he was a kid, so it's fitting he's a co-owner there.
That's still a $20,000 book.
Get the hell out of here.
$20,000. So when I bought it for a lot less than $20,000 over 10 years ago.
For Gary, this isn't just a hobby.
It is an American invention that we have given the world, and it is truly an art form, beautiful blend of storytelling that is done visually and through prose.
It's this passion that Gary's wife Diane tells me is her favorite thing about him. They've quite literally built their home around it.
I knew him for years before I fell in love with him, so yes, I knew this was his thing. I love it.
I want to do a little PSA here and dispel a notion that most people think comic nerds are living in their parents' basement and they're losers and they can't get a girl. I want them to know that the dream is real. You can have it all.
And I always know what to get him.
A large portion of the Lawhorne household is devoted to the various universes Gary's favorite characters inhabit.
Oh my God. There's more!
No, of course there's more.
How do you keep track of all of this?
A lot of it's in here.
I got quite the education as Gary took me all the way from the 1930s golden age of comics through the modern age, adding comics have inspired him his whole life.
There were things I would pick up from comics that would help me in school that I wouldn't have read anywhere else. This is my favorite comic cover of all time.
Gary started collecting back in 1974, and as he celebrates 50 years accumulating this arsenal, his new mission is passing on his knowledge to the next generation. That's why he appears on a podcast network each week called the Code X Station.
What I want to do is I want to preach about the older books, the older storylines, the ones that begat all the Marvel movies, that begat the DC movies, the ones where these great creators culled from the stories of yesteryear, and they used them because those are the templates for what we see now.
And as long as there are aficionados like Uncle Gary preaching the gospel, the fate of the galaxy seems to be in good hands.
Well, Gary, here's to the next 60,000, right?
You know how I'm getting them? One book at a time, baby.
I love it. In Leesburg, with Uncle Gary, I'm Matt Kaufax, WTOP News.
For more stories like this, download and listen to WTOP Radio on our app or tune in to 103.5 FM.